We are officially recording. So we were just talking about the topic of the day and kind of reinforcing our belief that this is something good for this time of the year and any time of the year. And that is, how do you create your daily ritual, your rite, your practice that increases your performance, if that's what you're into, increases your happiness, if that's what you want, or makes your life work better for you, however you were to define it. So I'm Peter Shmock here in Seattle. Perpetua Neo is in Singapore. And we're so close. We're just really close. We're right here together. And I think it's a lovely topic. And we were just talking about it as terms of what it gives someone. I'm going to start with a question to you is, why would someone be interested in creating, designing, as you said, their own daily practice, their own ritual for their life?
Everybody needs some form of structure in their lives. So there's a lot of things about spontaneity, freedom, the creativity to live your life that sometimes can be a bit impulsive, but we all do really well with structure. I mean, think about this. I have clients who come to me in their 20s and they tell me things like, oh, when I was in school, I had a timetable. So things were a lot easier than when I went to university. I had to design my own timetable. Things were not so easy, but now that I'm an adult, I don't have any timetable. And sometimes I feel a bit left out or feel a bit lost at sea. And yes, freedom is a great thing, but I think freedom under check is even better, because then you have the foundation for deciding that this is how I want to be spontaneous. And you feel like you are in control, because no matter what we talk about, just letting go, as human beings, we all have a fundamental sense of wanting to be in control. Type A people, a lot more, but generally we do. I mean, like, you need to have this basic foundations. You got to be able to like yourself. You got to be able to be in control of your finances, your body, your mind, and the way you regulate yourself before you can really have fun. Otherwise, a lot of it is going to be about escape.
Yeah, and I agree with you that there has to be, in some aspect of life, a letting go, but that's after you put in action. And the action towards, where you want to go is what I think of as being this kind of image of having a boat, a sailboat. And if you don't put a keel in your boat, you're going to be drifting to the whims of the currents, of the winds, and you may want to go to that piece of land over there or that particular spot in the ocean or whatever, but you're going to be putting it to chance. And when you make an intention for your day, part of a ritual can be, or you make any sort of a statement within the context of a ritual, you are guaranteeing to a much higher degree that you're going to go where you want to go. And if you don't, you're just going to kind of float around. And the why for me started in athletics, and it took a while to develop, but it was like, what did I want out of today's practice? Yeah. We could just say I wanted to throw my shot put farther. But that was a good start, and that had to happen in the morning. But then what was I going to do in service of that? And when I went to the University of Oregon, all of a sudden there were written workouts up on the board every day for every athlete, depending on their particular event, as to what they were going to practice that particular day. So it might be throwing, it might be lifting, it might be running, it might be whatever it was going to be. So that was the beginning of the why, because I wanted to improve. And my coach knew better than I did back then that a structure on a daily basis was something that was really important to get me there.
Wonderful. I really love that because, sometimes we just think we got to do it in an unfettered and spontaneous way, but that doesn't always count. And you don't just train to do something because somebody tells you. You got to understand the why behind it. So when you were talking about it, I thought a lot about piano. So I grew up learning piano in classical piano, and in that every year you got to learn your skills. So like and all sorts of different things.
Learning the scales and learning all of the various notes and the sharps and the flats, and learning the keyboard.
Yeah, and so when I was a kid, I was told that you got to practice 1 hour a day. And to me, it's just like, so I just had to turn on a timer and 1 hour, it was so mechanical and I totally hated it. And by the time I finished all my grade exams, I was like, God, this is done. This is stupid because it was just the most laborious thing in the world. Many years later, I think when I was in my mid 20s, I picked up piano again. And that was when I realized how much I love the skills and how much my younger self would just balk at that idea. Because I set this intention that I want to be dexterous, I want to be able to feel and understand the music. And when I did that, for me, the skills was about accomplishing technical competence rather than something that is stupid to tick a checkbox that somebody tells me I need to do.
Right, right. And the why, I think, is also based on a non-athletic need for how do you want to be in your particular day? How do you want to show up? As well as what are those, things you want to cross off your list? And I think of it a lot less about crossing things off the list rather than, what sort of an attitude am I going to bring to the day? And what sort of an underlying kind of belief system do I want to take in to my day to manifest the things that are important for me to accomplish? And I think the why for me is what that brings in terms of a fulfilling day. Yeah, I can say I did certain things and I crossed certain things off my list, but more like who did I want to be within my life for that particular day? Do I want to be have a positive attitude, or do I want to take on everybody's negative attitude that I come in touch with? And what are my kind of targets for those steps? That if I want to create more wealth in my life, what do I need to do today? Who do I need to contact? What's my underlying demeanor that I want to take forth into the day? And I find that that's really, really important for me today, and works well. That's my why. That's what I take why I take the time in the morning to do this. So let's talk about now how. You had said something earlier about designing, for a person to be able to design their daily ritual. What can you say on that?
For me, the most important thing is to actually ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? Very similar to what you said. Because our habits are not just random things that we throw in, and they're not things that we just copy from someone. So for instance, for some time, I used to feel pretty shit that I'm not a 5 a.m. person, even though I know deep inside me, I've just done all the sleep personality tests and everything else. I know I am not a morning person. If someone wrenches me out of bed at 5 a.m., yeah, maybe I have no choice. I think, oh yeah, it's a great start, all that thing. But otherwise, no. So it can be quite frustrating for a lot of people that if you don't happen to live the life of your idols, the people who wake up at 5 a.m. or 3 a.m., the people who pump iron for 2 hours a day. But at the same time, you got to be able to think, okay, like it's not about just copying and pasting somebody's routines and rituals. It's asking yourself, how do these rituals align with me? Which brings us down to the question then, even deeper and more philosophically, what kind of person do I want to be? How do I see myself as a person for this phase in my life and then for today?
And
So
that I think that's so important. What you just touched on was, how do I make this ritual or this practice work for me? So I can read, all the top 10, traits of how CEOs and leaders are successful in life, and how somebody gets up at, I can think of somebody right off the top of my head who espouses getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, to crush it. And yeah, that doesn't work for me, and maybe that works for some people, and maybe it doesn't work for some people. But I think that individualization of it to how do you construct something that I can live with,
yeah,
that makes my life work better, not only from the standpoint of creating a ritual on a daily basis, but also how do I create a ritual that works for me? Like, I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, to your point. So where do we go from here?
yes. So as long as, for instance, if your day is going to be productive, you've done the things you really want to do, and you go to bed with a heart that is peaceful. So for me, that is super important, because we can strive and strive and strive, tick all sorts of boxes, and invent more boxes to tick, keep changing your finishing lines, and so what? By the end of the day, if you don't go to bed with a sense of peace in your heart, is that really living your day well? I'm not saying that every day you're going to have peace in your heart, but on most days, if you can strive to have that and you do your own reflections, then I think it's a life well lived.
Yes, and certain things, as you're touching on, as you're alluding to, I should say, is that there are certain things that you have done during that day based on, who do you want to be in your life that day, that's going to bring you to that end point of, I did the best I could, and I feel good in that. I feel complete in that. I feel that I can rest in that, knowing that I did the best I could. And by way of following some sort of a philosophy and a practice that began that day, and I'll speak to my way of doing it in just a moment. We can share, each one of us, so what personal things that we do, but that at the end of the day, that there is there's a piece to it, and that piece is based on, hey, I did the best I could. So some of the things, I think that one of the things that's important, and it doesn't matter whether you're getting up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or whatever time of day, is that the morning is ripe. The morning is such a ripe time to create, a space. It doesn't have to be a great deal of space in terms of time or energy output, but it is when the mind is less busy. We're not caught up into lots of emails and people wanting our time. So it's a perfect time to really sit down and to do one of many different things that we'll undoubtedly touch on. I'll share what mine are, and then you can do the same. Ways in which we kind of put that keel in, and we create a ritual around how we're going to interact in our coming day. For me, it's gotten to be more complete, I suppose, within the last year. I have the time, and I make time for that time, if you will. I prioritize. I don't have appointments early in the morning. I don't schedule things early in the morning. I like to have my time. So my components are a meditation, which is the first thing. Setting, I have a notebook that I use most every morning, 80% of the time, that I will write down what theme for the day, what ways of being do I want to, take into the day. There are times when I can get pessimistic. I can be like, oh, and like, oh, life is hard. This is going to be really hard, and there's so many things to do. And so one of the things I might write down is simply, listen, I'm going to do the best I can today. I'm not going to be able to do everything. And I'm going to carry forward into the day an attitude that I have enough time, that I am smart enough to accomplish the things that I want, and that it's not going to be hard. It's only hard if I believe it's going to be hard, and I'm going to choose that today is going to be easy, and that I will, accomplish the things that come my way out of left field. Sorry to use a baseball pun here, but and I will be able to handle those things, and I will write those down in my notebook. And the last thing that I will do is read something of inspiration or something that's aspirational. So I have a couple of go-to books that I read. So, the whole thing, for me probably takes, 45 minutes or so. I'm not saying that people should take 45 minutes. That's something that works for me. It's been a practice that is constantly evolving. But the number one thing is I'm taking time first thing in the morning. And I think that is probably the number one to-do thing that I would recommend people doing. And once we establish the why, or individuals establish, why am I going to do this? Then, well, it's the how, and the how is first thing in the morning. And that if someone were to sit quietly, they don't even have to meditate with a formal meditation practice like I have. They can just sit quietly and set an intention for, how do they want to show up? What's their attitude for the day? That can be just perfect to start with. How about you? What are your thoughts, and what do you do? What's your practice look like?
So I actually want to talk a lot about the way you say what you say, because um, that things like meditating, intentions, carving out that space is very important for everybody. I think we talked about it in an earlier episode of our conversations about spending time to buy time. And for me personally, there's all the stuff that I really want to do in the morning. But I know that for me, getting between tumbling out of bed, putting on my, like washing my face and everything else and running out the house, sometimes it's only 7 minutes. So, and that's just the way I want to do it. I want to optimize my lane time, because in the morning it's almost like the bed cleaves to your body. It feels so good. So what I do is I transpose all the stuff and I do the things that you talk about at night.
Yes, perfect. Just another way, another time of day.
Yeah, because for me, it's just the way it aligns with my lifestyle and personality. So I totally agree on the meditation thing. It can be very simple, can be very short. For me, there's also journaling. There is also a time for prayer and a time for intention. And I also read about what's going on, like in terms of, there's like a Taoist meditation with the day in the lunar calendar to basically set an intention for the day and the theme, and to think about my life. So that's my night before I sleep. I lay out my clothes. So basically 7 minutes every morning is more than enough for me. I know that's very fast, but that essentially is what I found works best without any guilt, and it's a way that I embrace my life. In the morning, what I always make sure I do is I stretch. It's a way of waking myself up. And when I do things like brush my teeth, I make sure I move. So I do squats.
Nice. And how do you, if you forget to do those one day or you don't have time, what's the difference between the days that you make time to do your squats and those that don't? Do you feel a difference, or do you notice a difference during the day?
I feel a lot more energetic. I feel like I've done deliberate movement and I've taken care of some muscle groups in my body. So when I do my squats, I brush my teeth. It's quite ridiculous, but at the same time, it is also a way in which I optimize my time. And it's a kind of pairing. So for instance, with some of my clients, they'll say things like, I don't have time to do this breathing exercise. And I say, actually, if you have time to walk to the bathroom, you have time to breathe. So you got to pair it. So pairing my morning ritual with squats is actually the smartest way of making sure that it's a non-negotiable, which means I've been doing it for about 5 or 6 years already without even thinking. And that way I know that I have done something good to begin with that is healthy and kind to my body. And of course, I set an intention that follows from the night before.
Exactly. And I'm guessing, I think you just said this, but I'm going to restate it, that the reason you do it, and it's non-negotiable any longer, is because it makes a positive difference in your day. So there might be a fleeting thought, and I certainly have them. I don't have time to meditate, or, I don't want to meditate. I just want to have coffee. I just want to check my computer. And that I will have that moment that happens. And this is after meditating 25 years that I can have that occasionally and go, no, we're going to meditate because everything is better throughout the day when you make that time. And I've done enough self-experimentation to find out, well, how much time did it really take? And did I really miss out on anything because I took that time? And the answer is no. Did I not have time for my coffee? No. Everything worked out just fine. So earlier on, I had to kind of negotiate those thoughts, and come to find out, no, I do have the time, and that it makes a difference. You do this for life to work better. You do this to perform better as an athlete. And I think that's the first thing that I would advise people to do is look at the relationship between what you did, what action you took, and writing in your journal, or stretching in the morning, or taking 3 breaths, and how did that make you feel? And if it's a thumbs up and a positive, then hey, how about making this a non-negotiable thing that I'm going to do every morning?
I think we spend a lot more time fighting with ourselves over what we're going to do throughout the day. And, it's kind of like when I was reading this article, why do we make some things too emotional? So things like, I'm going to flush a toilet, I'm not going to flush a toilet. I mean, why do we waste time fighting ourselves over something as trivial as that? It takes up a lot of mental bandwidth. So, this is just a rule of thumb, kind of like this algorithm that my body is now programmed to do. When I do this, like when I wake up, I do my squats. When I'm in the bathroom, I flush the toilet. It's as simple as that. So let's stop, for me, it's about not wasting time. And when it comes to all these different rituals, I love, actually, I haven't really thought about this question, but how does it make me feel? I mean, generally, subconsciously, I know it makes me feel great, or it gives me the sense of discipline because that's how I want to see myself. So I keep it in my life. So what I always encourage my clients and myself to do is always have a list of the rituals and routines that are done every day, maybe every week or every quarterly. And, or, for instance, a deep clean of a house. How often is it done? Because all this stuff supports your life as the foundations for your life. Or every day, a ritual of journaling. So have a systems kind of note, and review that every 3 months to see what's really good, what's really bad, what can I get rid of, or what can I add into my life. And when you do that, that's how you streamline, because you don't have to do everything that everybody tells you to do.
Exactly.
And for some, it's about meditating for 2 hours. For some people, it's about meditating for 3 minutes. It's not a competition. The point is you've done it, you've taken care of yourself, you've set a good foundation for your life, and you like the way you see yourself as a result of that.
Right. And if you feel better, if I didn't meditate in the morning, my mind wouldn't be as calm throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I've come to find out I would rather have a calmer mind that's clearer, that makes more positive and correct, if you will, decisions throughout the day than not. If I stretch, you do your squats. If I stretch in the morning, then my body feels better. I feel less achy when I walk out the front door, and that's a positive. If I feel better in my body, then most likely I'm going to be feeling better in all of the appointments, all of the things that I have to do that day. And I think initially it takes some training to have someone be just self-aware. How do I feel? One of the questions I ask every single client when I first see them is, how does your body feel? Are you achy? Is your energy 10 out of 10, or is it only 1 out of 10, which is pretty low? And slowly but surely, the people who go through a little stretching routine in the morning, it could be one stretch. It could be one stretch that lasts 1 minute. And I said, well, how does that work for you? How does that make your body feel throughout the day? Oh, well, I have, like you said, I have more energy. I feel better. I don't feel as achy. Doesn't feel as good as not feeling achy. So those things are the reminders I love this quote, I did not come up with it, to remember what needs to be remembered. And that's part of, I think, establishing a practice that you will continue to do. You remember that, hey, my mind works better, my body works better if I take a few minutes first thing in the morning or at the end of the day to make things better in my life.
Mm-hmm. Because like all these things don't have to take a long time. You say yours takes about 45 minutes. I don't think that's that long. My nighttime rituals are about an hour, but for me, this is so important. I've been doing them for about maybe 4 or 5 years already, and more intensively in the last 3 years. And I realized that whether I'm traveling or I'm with other people, it doesn't matter. I'm always going to have to carve out that time, because that gives me a sense of well-being and peace. And I know it sets the foundation for my sleep and my next day. So other things that I will think about, that I actually do would be making a bed. So I know it's something that has been talked a lot about, but as I've experimented, I realized I really like it, because again, it only takes a minute or maybe even less, but it makes my house look so beautiful. It makes me feel proud of it, because when I think about it, I am somebody who is house proud. I love beautiful things. So that aligns to my personality. So because of that, the bed has to look nice. But for somebody else who doesn't need to have a good looking house, maybe it doesn't matter. So they have to find something that essentially works with them.
Yes, and those little tiny things are part of a larger um, philosophy around creating a discipline, that is something that gets to be a part of your life, that is no longer has to be debated in the morning or in the evening. You do it, and I think that everyone can expect that will happen. It will take some period of time. It's going to be different for everyone. And of course, I've already admitted that there are times, even after 25 years of meditating, that there are days when I go, well, I don't want to. It's too nice outside. I want to go outside. I'm going to go ride my bike. And then that discipline that's been created over the course of time kicks in, and it's something I don't even have to think about anymore. And I pretty much guarantee for folks that even if they start with, a minute of, breathing, or a minute of stretching, or a minute of journaling in the morning, that it gets to be pretty easy. And it gets to be something that is kind of an essential. You're really looking forward to it because you know what a difference it makes for the rest of your day.
Yeah. and to add it in systematically. So don't give yourself 5,000 new rituals for a day just because the new year is coming. That's just
Exactly.
exhaust you, and that's just the way we sabotage ourselves, and we know it's never gonna happen. So do it slowly, add it in, and then ask yourself as well, how do you pair that with the things you already do? Because for most of us, I'm just guessing, like 99% of us who are listening to this, brushing your teeth in the morning and at night is something that you don't even question, or washing your face or washing your hair or something like that. So if you already do all this stuff, ask yourself, how can I kind of value add into that? So for instance, brushing your teeth, my teeth and squats, that's how I pair them together and make it even more meaningful for me, because it's taking care of my body. And for other people, it can be, okay, since I already washed my face, let me just massage my skin as a way of taking care of my body and taking care of myself, showing myself some kind of kindness. So it's really about, what am I already doing right now that I can enhance, rather than to just keep adding new steps and then setting ourselves up for failure, because we know we're going to say, I can't remember too many things to do. I don't remember what to do first and next, or no time.
Hmm. Yes, and they can be connected. I mean, you could do your squats uh, while you brush your teeth. You could also have your squats precede or come after you brush your teeth. It could be something that and you're making it work for you. It could be something that there is a sequence that happens that gets to be part of this routine, and we're calling it a ritual and a rite because we're having kind of giving it an expanded power here of how it lends itself to your day. But it doesn't have, and it could be 3 breaths. You finish brushing your teeth, you put the toothbrush down, you look in the mirror, say, I'm going to have a great day today. I'm going to, allow myself to be who I am. I'm going to take 3 breaths. 1, 2, 3, and there you have it. That whole thing took you, 90 seconds. And which I wanted to address my friend Joe, who was asking, uh, like, how do I stay in touch with my physical, my mental, and my spiritual being, because they're important to me. What would I do on a daily basis? And I didn't answer him there, but I'll answer, here, as a way of, in a way of just saying, it would be really easy that you could move your arms over your head back and forth for 30 seconds. That would be your body. And you're just putting your attention on your body and feeling your body. You could be doing the squats that you noted. You could do a stretch on the carpeted floor. You could say to yourself, how do I want to show up today? I want to enjoy my day. Okay, there you go. And the last one could be of the spiritual nature. It could be praying. It could give a prayer. If you're not into praying, you could ask your higher self for guidance today as to how to be in your life in a way that is connected to the greater universe. And I mean, literally, and you could take 3 deep breaths. I mean, that whole thing could take 90 seconds again. It could take less than that. It doesn't have to be so big that it's daunting. And we could go back to the ridiculous and say, okay, we're not going to do 3 things. We're just going to do 1. We're just going to say, okay, I'm just going to stretch for 1 minute. I'm going to do 1 movement for 1 minute, and that's it. And maybe after a couple of weeks or a month or so, if you're interested in the mental and the spiritual side of your being, then you could tap into another 30 seconds of one of the suggestions I already made. So it doesn't have to be hard to be useful or good.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you just make that one tiny step, you're going to be more inclined to do more. So for instance, like say on the mornings that I actually do some kinds of kettlebell workout, some mornings I still fight with myself. And so I tell myself, I'm just going to do a set of 20 lifts. And when I do that 20, I end up doing a lot. I end up doing about 10 minutes of the whole routine, which is a lot to me. And I feel good. I feel even better. But that's only because I started it. When I think about, oh, I'm going to wake up and do 10 minutes, that is tiring. So I go the other way.
Yeah.
Because when you do one step at a time, you're likelier to do the whole thing. So for instance, there's this Stanford behaviorist called BJ Fogg, and he runs Behavior Lab. And what he says is, how do you get somebody to floss their teeth? You want to make a guess?
You take out the floss out of the drawer first, and that's it. You just look at it.
Yeah, that may be, but the floss is always staring there. But sometimes we don't do that. We only do that before we're going to the dentist, and after we just come back from the dentist because we just feel all pumped up, all afraid. So what he says is, tell somebody, floss one tooth, because the moment you floss that one tooth, you create momentum, and you're going to do a lot more. You're going to do the whole thing. So in the same way, what is your equivalent of floss one tooth when it comes to your rituals and routines? Whether it's your day, your night, or let's seek into rituals throughout the day as well. Because it's not just about how you start your day and how you end your day. It's also about what goes on within your day, what kind of meaning and fulfillment you're having, what kind of productivity you're feeling in your life, and do you like who you are as a result of what you're doing.
Yeah, and I use the phrase "start with the ridiculous," and it could be that somebody hasn't exercised, and I would say, "Okay, well, can you walk around the block? Do you have the fitness level?" "Oh, yeah. I mean, I could walk around the block for 10." "No, just walk around the block one. Oh, well, I can do it. How many? 10 times? 15 times?" "No, one time. That's it." So that's akin to floss one tooth.
Yeah.
Take one breath. Do one stretch. This is a stretch, 1001, 1002, 1000. And if the thought comes up, well, this is ridiculous, what a waste of time. I said, no, this is the beginning of creating your ritual, and you're starting with it. And as you just said, all of a sudden now, it gives you build up momentum. And you go, well, I can do two. Well, I have time to do two teeth.
Yeah.
I have time to walk around the block one more time. I have the energy to do that too. And then you don't end up getting in your own way, or your mind doesn't get in your way. And you learn that you can start with something so ridiculous and build on that, and it has lasting value.
Yeah, I mean, we spend so much more time fighting with ourselves.
Don't we ever?
When you talk about walking, I find it really interesting, like how quickly this distance sneaks up on us without even knowing that. So for instance, for me, I make it a point to walk as much as possible. So I try to take public transport, because that means that I have no choice but to walk. And so before long, it's like my phone only measures the distance I walk outdoors. So on the days that I spend indoors, it says 0, as though I'm totally sedentary. But that's actually really, really useful, because then I know how active I am outdoors. So that's how you can trick yourself to do that. So for some of my clients, I'm like, okay, how about you tell yourself you're going to walk to the shop to get something, or to get your favorite food, walk to your favorite restaurant. If you don't already want to specifically build in this walking time, but you know that you feel so awesome after a walk, that your muscles feel great. And for other clients, it's something like, okay, do you like shopping? Go shopping, because you'll be surprised how much you walk when you shop.
Yeah, yeah. You come up with whatever motivation works.
Yeah.
And then I swear people will start falling into like, oh, when I don't do that, then I feel this way. Oh, well, which way do I want to feel? Well, okay, so let's go shop more often, because I feel better when I do that, because I am walking, even though I am buying things. So I think the ritual, as we've stated, is something that can make your entire body, mind, and spirit more efficient. It can make it more relaxed in terms of the mind. It can make it more, you're in tune with yourself. And if you just start with something small, whether it's in the morning or as you do in the evening, that's the beginning. And to celebrate those are victories. Those are little things like, way to go, pat yourself on the back and say, you know, I did it, and build on it. Start with the ridiculous, or start with the one tooth, as you said, and build on that.
Keep experimenting, see what really works with you, and be open to cutting it out of what you want to do, and be open to adding something else in. It's not a moral failure if you don't wake up at 5 a.m. or you don't do your sports.
Exactly.
You really love to do, what adds value into your life. And at the fundamental level, what kind of person do you see yourself as a result of doing all this stuff?
What I'd like to ask folks to do that listen to this and think about it is add in the comments what their rituals are, why they do them, what they get out of them. Let me share. We've shared with the viewers and listeners here of the things that we do. I'm very curious to know what others are doing and how that impacts their life. And so I hope people will comment and share what they do as well. Any final words?
Enjoy your life.
Enjoy.
Yes.
I can't top that. I'm not even going to try. Enjoy your life. Until next time, Peter here, Perpetua there. See ya.
See you.